Assalamu alaikum, good morning and namaste. Sasri Akal ke manachin, Yali Madad, Ya Allah Madad. And welcome to this Sunday's edition of this program right here on my dear friend's radio station, Rehan Siddiqui. And because of my dear friend Rehan Siddiqui and my patrons and our patrons, that I have been blessed so I can speak with you directly because this is Zishan Isaac and I'm a candidate for Commissioner Precinct 4 in Fort Bend County. So today we'll talk about a couple of important things, but those of you who don't know me, or maybe this is your first time watching me on social media platforms like YouTube Live, Facebook Live, or Twitter Live, and right here on this station, FM 103.5, congratulations to the entire team of Rehan Siddiqui and of this radio station that they are doing a great service for the entire community. A lot of South Asians, people from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and all those in that vicinity, in that region, who basically understand and know and speak Urdu or Hindi. And obviously, some programs are also done in English because we live in this great country of ours, the United States of America. So let me introduce myself to those who don't know me. My name is Zishan Isaac. I went to University of Houston, got my bachelor's degree in MIS, Management Information Systems, got my MBA in e-business. I've been working for corporate America for over 21 years. And I was a director at American Express, managed a $250 million budget, also worked for Honeywell and KBR. I've been married for over 20 years to a remarkable wife, and together we have raised a wonderful teenage boy. And after sitting down with my family, and as many of you know, I've been involved in our communities right here in Fort Bend. I've been living here for almost 20 years, and even in Precinct 4 for over 10 years. So my son, he also went to elementary, middle school, and high school, and he has graduated now from high school. So I know and I understand what are the issues in Precinct 4 and in Fort Bend County. And at the same time, when I sat down, and as many of you know, I've been involved with the radio and TV and in our various philanthropic and charity organizations. And I've been professing and discussing with so many folks that, hey, this is about, giving back to the community. Then, I was like, yes, I've got to also make a decision to run for public office. So sat down with my family and then we decided. And it was for me like a double standard, right? That I've been talking and discussing with everyone, hey, we got to involve in politics. But myself, I'm not running, and I'm not running for public office, right? So at that time, I decided, no, when the rubber meets the road, I've got to lead from the front as well. So I decided that I will run for Commissioner Office Precinct 4 because commissioners can do a lot. They have a lot of responsibility, and we can make our precinct and our Fort Bend County an exemplary and model precinct and county in the nation. So hi Zishan from April Jones. Hi back to you, April. Thanks for joining in and watching me through the social media platforms. So thank you so much. And those who don't know, April is also with the Democratic Party. She is our treasurer of Fort Bend Democrats. So it's exciting. This is the time where we've got to make sure that we elect qualified candidates. And it's not about me. I obviously want to make sure that whoever runs for public office, they should be vetted. And it's not about running as, oh, I have run it previously or I have been involved for decades. Enough is enough. I mean, we cannot be like career politicians. Democracy, when our founding fathers put our constitution together, and obviously we are on a journey where we continuously to improve things. This is about where everyone from the population, qualified people, should come forward and serve. And I think maybe I'm envisioning and thinking, and I am a dreamer, right? So I dream of a day when everyone and people who obviously are passionate that they come and serve. Maybe 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, depending on what office you're running for. But even if you're not running for office, at least get involved and serve, even as a volunteer. So when people talk about different politicians, we hear that, oh, they have been involved for 10 years, 20 years, and now it's sort of become an entitlement that, we should be looking at people who are completely dedicated their entire lives to politics, or people who work for, maybe in private sector, should not be taken seriously. Well, that's where I personally believe and think we've got to make sure that we make everyone involved and hold everyone accountable. And in fact, it's a good segue. We're getting some comments as well. So April is saying we must hold those elected officials accountable to do what they promise when elected. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, April. And that's exactly where accountability comes into the picture. Because if a leader or a politician, and I will go in terms of the defining why am I using two different terms, a politician and a leader. Because a politician always thinks about their next election, his or her next election, but a leader will think about the next generation or the vision and bringing everyone together, uniting everyone together. And that's why we also hear that politicians divide and a leader unites. That's why I'm making a promise today with all of you that those who will vote for me, when I get elected, I will be your commissioner. And those who would have not voted for me, I will also be your commissioner. Because we cannot have 100% consensus on anything, but every vote matters, every dollar matters, and that's why go to zishanishaq.com and contribute as well, because this is our campaign. I'm not going to special interest groups and people who have deep pockets and people who basically donate and contribute, and that's great, and they will be donating, contributing, but my focus is on us, because that's what politics is all about. At the grassroots level, how we can make our local government work for us. That's why my experience, I have managed $250 million budget. I have been blessed, and it has been a rewarding experience. And given the training and the management training and the leadership training with companies like American Express, where I've worked with everyone, people from different walks of lives. And then at the same time, how can we make sure that whoever we elect, we hold our elected officials accountable, period. And keep them honest. What they promised us, and when they get elected and when they are in office, then they need to make sure that they execute on those promises and they deliver on those promises. So I am a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I believe in core democratic values. And at the same time, I'm also one of those Democrats who will continue to raise the bar, hold myself and my own party accountable as well, that we continue to make progress. And we have great people, and we have great talent in our Democratic Party, because it's a big tent party. It's a party where diversity and inclusiveness are entrenched in our Democratic Party. It's not based on political expediency. So let me explain that as well. What is going on right now in Texas, which will impact Precinct 4 and Fort Bend County as well. Our governor, and yes, many of you may say, Zishan, maybe your governor, because many people don't consider him as a governor. And why? Because of the executive orders and some of the policies that our governor in our great state of Texas, in our Lone Star state, just issued an executive order authorizing DPS, Texas DPS, Department of Public Safety. They are our law enforcement officers. We call them state troopers as well, to stop people based on suspicion that they can ask for their immigration status, whether they are United States citizens, whether they are legal permanent residents, or maybe undocumented folks who have crossed the border maybe when they were young with their parents, or maybe their parents as well, and based on suspicion. So what would be that criteria? What would be the probable cause that someone maybe who looked like me, maybe I may fit that, oh, let's just check Zishan's status, because he probably doesn't look like he's a United States citizen. And for many decades, and he has been involved with community for many decades. He has been giving back as a law-abiding citizen, as a law-abiding taxpayer, and as a law-abiding member of the society. But I think he should be judged based on the color of his skin, not on the content of his or her character. That's what our king, Martin Luther King Jr., he said it, right? And I'm paraphrasing. So what would be that criteria, right? Who would raise a red flag? So this is the problem. When the law states clearly that immigration belongs to the federal government, but no, we've got to make sure that we make politics out of this, and the situation where the law states very clearly that immigration and foreign policy belongs to the federal government, right? Both immigration and foreign policy. It's not a matter of a state to basically enforce the immigration policies. Yes, it's up to the federal government. And when I say that, it's all the federal government or folks in the federal government, meaning not just the incumbent or the Biden administration, but the administrations who have come before the Biden administration. So the Biden administration obviously has sued the state of Texas. Yes, the federal government or the Biden administration, they have sued the state of Texas, and for the rightly reasons, because the law is very clear. If all the different governors, we have 50 governors in our nation, in the contiguous states, right? If all of them, they start enforcing the immigration laws or start meddling into foreign policies and immigration laws, then what kind of a country we're going to have? You move from Texas to Louisiana, Louisiana to Texas, Texas to obviously New Mexico or Arizona or Oklahoma, wherever you go, and then you may find yourself in a completely different country, because you will be stopped right away the moment you cross Texas borders or Texas borderline and enter into Louisiana, or vice versa. So think about this for a second, folks. Is that the kind of a country we want? And yes, we are Texas proud. I'm a proud Texan, but we also need to recognize and understand that there are laws in the books. And yes, if we have a very clear-cut policy differences about how immigration, and even George W. Bush Jr., who basically wanted to implement immigration reform, and he is a Republican, and Republican administrations, came, and then they were voted out. They were voted in and voted out. And then Democratic administrations also came in. They voted in and voted out as well. But at the same time, which party continued to make immigration a priority and healthcare a priority? It was the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party cannot just do it unilaterally. We have Congress. Obviously, it will require majority, at least 2/3 majority. And how are we going to make sure that we get 2/3 majority? By working with our Republican friends. Same thing in the Senate. It cannot be just based on simple majority, 51, although in some of the various immigration, not immigration, in various bills where simple majority rule was invoked, and the majority leader back then during the predecessors and the previous administration, they in fact broke their own rules and traditions that they set by sitting together with Democrats and fellow Democrats. So this is where we have a problem in terms of politics these days, folks. So our governor in the state of Texas, is saying, okay, well, law enforcement, you go ahead. You stop people who are going from Houston to San Antonio to El Paso, Austin, Dallas, where have you, because that's where the state troopers would be on the state highways. And you just stop people based on suspicion, even though you're not really close to the um, Mexican border. But even in that case, that doesn't mean that it will be legit or it will be ethical or allowed, because it's against the law. We just cannot allow states to meddle and start interfering into the immigration issues. Now, I understand immigration is a very sensitive topic, and I don't know why it is sensitive, because maybe politicians want us to continue to make this topic sensitive, or obviously we have this immigration issue and immigration reforms that have been long overdue for decades now. And then we have this DACA situation as well, deferred childhood arrivals, right? So now we have the situation where children who were little infants, or they were very young minors, they were brought and they came with their parents, and their parents were undocumented. But what is their, I would say, they didn't do anything wrong. They are minors. Obviously, they are at the liberty, or they are at the disposal of their parents, because the parents have made the decisions that basically have not impacted their lives in our great country. And they have gone and studied in our schools. They even went to universities. So there are issues like that, and that's where the administration, and even during Obama administration, they granted some status, and there are some legal terms that they use. But long story short, what I'm trying to paint the picture here, that this is where we cannot live in a society where people are fearful of our law enforcement, even those who are undocumented, because this is where we got to make sure that the law enforcement and the communities, they work together, and there should be some sort of a trust, so we can ensure that the crime rate goes down, and then work together. One great example is when two Republican commissioners, they voted against the mutual task force that basically was ensuring that the constable office and the law enforcement officers in Precinct 4 in Fort Bend County worked with the U.S. Marshal's office, and then our Constable Nabil Shaikh. And the party talks about, oh, we are a law and order party. But when it comes to action, when it comes to vote, they are voting against it. And this is the problem that people are sick and tired and fed up of. Ultimately, and Constable Nabil Shaikh was on this radio station a couple of weeks ago, and he confirmed this, and he, with his fearless leadership, talked very openly about it. I'm also for that mutual task force. So the people who basically have warrants and warrants out, or gang members, they're out on the streets. So the U.S. Marshal's office and the local law enforcement work together collaboratively and ensure that they are brought to justice and they face the law of the land. So ultimately that bill passed 3-2, but those two Republican commissioners obviously voted against tackling violent crime, and we've got to tackle violent crime. So now our Republican governor in the state of Texas issued this executive order. The Biden administration has filed a lawsuit, and then the governor didn't stop there. And these are policy differences. I have respect for the governor, but I don't have any qualms or any kind of what you call, it would be against my own ethical standards, where I would say that, oh yeah, the governor is doing something, and we all should just stay silent, because silent means consent. Silence means consent. So the other policy directive that the governor has issued, that the government offices in the state of Texas cannot mandate masks. Now, we already know that there's Delta variant out there. We also know that a lot of people are not getting vaccinated. We also know that there are also breakthrough cases, as reported in the media as well, with facts and figures based on 30 states who have provided the data. And what are breakthrough cases? Very quickly, breakthrough cases are those people who have been vaccinated, but they still contracted COVID. And then there have been reports that people have died, over 100 of them in different states. Look it up. This is the information age we live in. And that's concerning as well. Yes, from a percentage perspective, is very low, 0.08% or almost 1%, but there's no such thing as zero risk. So here we are, and I just checked the Johns Hopkins University data reporting just day before yesterday. 613,000 Americans, of our fellow Americans, have died because of COVID. So when we already know that, yes, things have improved after the Biden administration took over and President Biden was elected, and since then, we have seen that, yes, at least the vaccine distribution and vaccine distributions and people in terms of getting access to healthcare and getting access to vaccinations, they got that. But at the same time, many still chose not to get vaccinated. And those are, according to physicians, according to healthcare experts, according to pandemic experts and epidemic experts, they are emphasizing and sharing this information with everyone, that they are the most vulnerable population, the ones who have chosen not to get vaccinated. So when we already know this, and we are living in this great state of Texas, but the governor has issued the directive and made sure that everyone basically in our Texas government buildings, the state of Texas and the government buildings cannot mandate masks. So we already know that when you step into the buildings and people who are not vaccinated, they are not wearing masks, and there would be other people who are not vaccinated, they are also not wearing masks. We're just asking for trouble. This is simple science. So I don't know why we cannot hold our elected officials accountable. This is a prime example of ensuring that we hold our elected officials accountable. And I am running for local office, but these are the issues. These are various type of directives that will impact Precinct 4 and also Fort Bend County. So when we are going to our local offices, even if you choose to wear a mask, but then you see other people who we don't know, because you go to renew a license or what have you, for example, or apply for license first time, or for your children, then in that case, when you go to the county office or any DPS office, it's really sad that people who may not be vaccinated, they're not wearing masks. Maybe you're obviously an informed citizen, informed member of the society, You choose to wear a mask, but everyone needs to do their part. That's how pandemics can be fought. That's how pandemics can obviously, uh, we can make sure that the era of pandemic is over. Otherwise, this will continue. I don't know how long, maybe a couple of years or maybe decades, because of such nonsensical, illogical, unreasonable policies by our elected officials. And when I say elected official in this case is the governor of Texas, because that's what he has mandated. He has issued the directive that now in the state of Texas, the government buildings, masks will not be mandated, when we already know that the cases are now rising again. Now, people may say, okay, well, Zishan, at the end of the day, we are also seeing reports that people who have been vaccinated, they are not going to get sick in a severe manner, or they will not be hospitalized. But in some situation, it has happened. We don't know how the Delta variant or the Delta plus variants will attack or impact anyone's immune system. Does any doctor or anyone's doctor can say that with authority, with 100% guarantee, that, oh, people who have been vaccinated, when they get exposed to COVID or they get contracted with COVID, that how their body will react? We don't know. So we are in this situation where, yes, in some situations, because of the data, we know that, yes, if someone gets sick who has been vaccinated, you may not get sick severely, but at the same time, we don't know. Because of the data, we think that, yes, more than 94%, 96%, because the efficacy rate is there. But what about the other 4% or 5%? So this is not a flu, folks. This is not a flu. This is a serious matter where many people have lost their lives. I personally have lost my mentor. Many people know his name was Mohsen, Mr. Mohsen Janda. And he was one of my mentors, and he lost his life very quickly. Got admitted on Wednesday, and by Saturday he was gone. So in 3-4 days, he was gone. This is obviously last year, when the situation was horrible and terrifying, and now it is getting better, but we've got to make sure that we continue to remind each other. And April Jones is saying, please save yourselves and others by wearing your mask. Absolutely. We have to do our part. We're all in this together. So accountability is so important that we need to make sure that everyone is aware and making the right choices, and we are also holding our elected officials accountable. Period. And I'm running for Commissioner Precinct 4. I'm a candidate for Commissioner Precinct 4. Commissioners, they manage budgets. They work on short-term, long-term plans. They also ensure reducing the tax rates, because that's what I intend to do, work with other commissioners as well in the Commissioners Court. And then the issue with the Project Brazos, we have the Brazos River, and the Brazos River, obviously, we have these levees, work with lids and muds. So the commissioner is the chief executive of the precinct, and they need to lead from the front. Emergency management, infrastructure, accountability. These are the key priorities, and there are many priorities that I am obviously fighting for and ensuring that we work together. And I will always level with you. And those priorities and those campaign issues are also listed on my website, on our website, which is zeeshanishaq.com, ZeeshanIsaac.com, zeeshanishaq.com, or easy to remember, zeeshanisaac.com. I go by Zeeshan Isaac. So accountability is the bedrock, is the foundation of leadership. If we cannot hold ourselves accountable, if we cannot hold our politicians, our elected officials accountable, then we have a problem, Houston, or Fort Bend, or Harris County, or Sugar Land. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we work together, and we cannot let science get in the way. Since when in this great country we made politics out of science? Recently, yes. Who is wearing a mask? Who's not wearing a mask? Are we going to now identify people? Oh, people who are wearing masks, the chances are they could be Democrats. The probability or percentage wise, and people who don't, maybe Republicans, is just wrong. It's just completely unethical. We are already seeing some countries, they are going back into lockdowns. So we have to be smart. This is 2021. And this is where we need to make sure that we hold our elected officials accountable. So I discussed these issues with you. This is where we live in this great state, but we don't live in a bubble. We don't live in some type of a, that we have just wrapped ourselves around with plastic or some bubble, and we can just, walk around thinking that if we are just going to, be with public, it's not my responsibility that anyone else's health is now impacted because of I'm not wearing a mask. That is just absolutely wrong. What kind of an argument are we making? And then what about the elderly population? People who are in fact the most vulnerable. And that is pretty much consensus amongst Americans with regards to the aspect of people who are over the age of 65, over the age of 70. So if our young adults, and when you're a young adult, you always feel fearless and you think that nothing can stop you, and that's great. But at the same time, if someone is asymptomatic or maybe showing symptoms and not wearing a mask, and then going and meeting their parents and grandparents who are in that vulnerable age group, then we are now unintentionally impacting their health, and they could already be facing pre-existing conditions. So it is mind-boggling to me that you and people who care for humanity, people who want to make sure that we bring everyone together and we fight this COVID together, we are seeing such ridiculous and such illogical, unreasonable directives and executive orders from our state of Texas. And the governor needs to be held accountable. Because when he issues those directives and he make those statements, and those statements and those directives and executive orders will be enforced throughout the state of Texas. So even the counties, for example, the Fort Bend County, where we have made great progress, now we are also at risk because of such directives. And this is where we need to make sure that we continue to tell everyone, remind everyone, including myself, that, hey, we need to save ourselves and others by wearing masks. Because we cannot obviously depend on such type of unreasonable executive orders where you go into the government buildings in the state of Texas, and then because it's not mandated that you wear a mask, and now we have the situation. It's not about liberty, folks. This is not about liberty. This is about staying alive or getting sick or ending up dead because of nonsensical, irresponsible, and unethical decisions that are being made by people who have the power and authority, and they are not doing their part. by ensuring and showing leadership, by bringing everyone together and doing the right thing, which is always not easy, but it's the most important thing to do. And why the governor is doing this? Because obviously next year is the election. He is also at risk, and absolutely he should be at risk not to be elected as the governor of Texas again. And we have some great Democratic candidates running for governor as well. And there was Governor Ann Richards, who was a Democratic governor. And now we are in this pandemic age where even European countries, they are facing issues. Even, state of California, they have raised their threat levels. And even in Harris County, County Judge Lina Hidalgo raised the threat level for COVID. I shared that last Sunday as well. So folks, this is where people like you and I, common sense is not very common, unfortunately. And we need to remind ourselves and our friends and our neighbors and our, circle of friends and people who we don't even know, that out of this love for humanity, out of this caring, out of this situation, how can we get out of this situation? At the same time, people who are informed, they have the responsibility to share that. So I will always level with you, because when we don't level with people, when we don't speak truthfully, then we get into the situations where politicians, they worry about the next election, and the leader will always think about the vision, think about the next generation, think about uniting the people. And how do we unite people? First of all, by ensuring that we speak truthfully. And then people who don't agree with you, we respectfully disagree with them, but with reason, with logic. And that's where let the best idea, let the best solution win. Not by enforcing unreasonable directives and issues just because it's good politics, because then, I will just solidify my base. So the governor of Texas, he may think that, oh yeah, this is good politics because, there are some people within his circle of influence, or for whatever reason, he thinks that he is doing something good to please his base. But what about Texans? How to protect Texans, each and every one? This is the responsibility of the governor. So in this great country, obviously we have our rights, and we have every right to say what is right, and then ensure that we continue to raise our voices where we see wrong. And this is absolutely wrong by risking the lives and health of Texans. When we already know that the Delta variant is there, when we already know that even the breakthrough cases, people who have been vaccinated, they got sick, and there are cases where more than 100 people in some states, even though they got vaccinations, they died. So then people will say, okay, well, I'm not going to get vaccinated. Well, that's where the problem is, because that's 0.08%, 1%. And then people who have not been vaccinated, the percentage is even higher. Then you are completely at risk. That's like sitting like, they say that you're sitting ducks. You go for hunting, and you're just sitting there, you're a sitting duck. And that's where the problem is, that we have completely shut down our minds, our intelligence and reasoning and all that. And that's where good people of our society, people who have the love and compassion and speak with each other with respect, at least we should do our part. Then obviously, if people still don't want to wear masks, then what can we say? Because obviously this is America, where people have the right to do whatever they want to do. But at the same time, that's where the accountability comes into the picture, that the elected officials, they level with people and they tell them that these are the reasons. So this is not about, this whole aspect of, that the government is now mandating mask or not mandating mask. In the state of Texas now, the governor has said that they will not mandate masks in government buildings. It's just wrong, unethical, irresponsible, and risking the lives of Texans and the health of Texans. At the same time, the other issue that I discussed was about the executive order that the governor of Texas issued, that the Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS, our state troopers, they can stop people based on suspicion. And what that suspicion would be, you have to ask them. But they can check and stop people for their immigration status. So you can be on the freeways and you can be stopped. Anyone can be stopped. And we know that who will be stopped. I mean, let's just not, at the same time, kid ourselves and think that, oh, I will not be stopped. I mean, what guarantee do we have? What kind of a protocol has that been shared? Based on suspicion. So who would be stopped? That's the question. And these are the type of policies, even in the past weeks when we have seen voter suppression bills in our state legislature, in the state of Texas. And then these are the Jim Crow type policies that are being brought again and being enforced on Texans in 2021. So this is just absolutely unacceptable. And we just cannot live in a society where people live in fear, where people would go from Austin to Dallas, from Houston to Dallas, from Sugar Land to San Antonio or El Paso, or then cross the state lines, or then coming back into the state of Texas. And then the next thing you know is DPS state trooper is stopping you and asking for, can I see your passport? Or can I see your citizenship status? Or just ask them, or, stop people. Is this how we're going to tackle violent crime? Is this how we're going to live in a society where there is freedom, where there is freedom of movement? And these are the issues, my friends. And these are the issues where everyone needs to do their part, hold our elected officials accountable, and we need to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable as well when we get elected. And I am making a promise again with you that I will always level with you, and you will always hold me accountable, because that's what it's all about. So we also have a caller here. So let's just see, someone is calling. Well, not anymore. If you would like to make a phone call, you can, and obviously discuss whatever you have on your mind. This is Zishan Ishaq. I'm a candidate for Commissioner, Precinct 4 in Fort Bend County. And if you have not checked out our website, so please go and visit www.zishanishaq.com, ZeeShanisaac.com. And you can also contribute, because every dollar counts, and every vote matters. And the elections will be next year in March. We're hearing it could be delayed to May. And that is also another issue, because of every 10 years, whenever there is census, then we hear about gerrymandering and redrawing of these districts. That's also politics, but people are fighting, and people have been fighting about that for decades as well. And that's where we may see that the primaries might be delayed next year. But the time is of the essence. Continue to become part of our campaign. People are becoming part of this campaign day and night. There are many people out there whom I have met, and I'm really excited and glad, and it's an honor for me that I'm meeting so many wonderful people, and many of them, they have already pledged their vote, and they've already said, Zishan, we will vote for you, because this is about us. This is how we will make sure that we make our local government work for us, but at the same time, we also improve our quality of life. And how do we do that? By working together, by ensuring that I will always level with people, even with critical votes and agenda items that will come in the Commissioner's Code. I will reach out to our constituents, to my constituents, and discuss with them that how I intend to vote in the Commissioner's Code, not after the fact, and not giving excuses. This is what government of the people, for the people, by the people should look like, where there is transparency, where we are holding our elected officials accountable. People then lose faith in our politics. People then lose faith in our governance. People then lose faith in our system. We cannot allow that. We must not allow that. We must not even have a perception where people get disenfranchised, where people, they think that, oh, it's just politics. And this is a blessing. And that's why many good people, qualified people, because of politics, they don't want to run for political office. And I want to make sure that that also change. So qualified people, people who would like to make a positive difference, there's a way to do it. So together we ensure that we bring everyone together and have those engagements, education and empowerment, those learning centers, those excellence centers that I will institute and create in Precinct 4 in Fort Bend County, so people can have direct connection with their constituents, with their local officials, and at the same time, our business community and non-business community, they are involved through town halls, through social media, through so many ways. And because of pandemic, we have to think out of the box. We have to have new ideas. We cannot just continue to live in complacency and with the mindset and the political thought process of the 70s and 80s, and think that, oh yeah, this is just politics, that's how we have always get things done, so we'll continue to do things the same way. We have to transform. This is not about change, this is about transforming. So gradually we make steps, because I know change is hard. As humans, we always try to resist change, but change for better. That's all about our lives. People who stay stagnant in their careers, in their business, in their professional lives, they fall behind. Same thing with politics, same thing with leaders, same thing with our public officials. We need to make sure that we transform. And that's what my campaign, that's what our campaign is all about. It's about ideas, it's about issues, it's about campaign issues, and it's ensuring that we make progress in the right direction. And what is that right direction? Together, we will set that course. And we will influence each other, because everyone is a leader. But we see leadership when people level with us, when people level with you, when people speak truthfully, they are being forthright with passion, accountability, courage, trust, fairness, all these areas. And that's where leadership traits come into the picture. So I obviously am very excited, as people can see and tell, because if I was not passionate, excited, I would not have even thought of running for public office. Because when I engage in projects and in things that I have done in my life and intend to do, I get involved with passion, with solutions, and by bringing everyone together. And I've been blessed, and it has been rewarding, and it has been a very successful journey so far. And we say Alhamdulillah, thanks to Almighty Allah, thanks to God, and whatever faith that you belong to, whatever culture you belong to. In America, it doesn't matter where you have come from. In America, it matters where you're going, where we are all going. That's why it's so important that if we are all sitting in a bus or in a car, it always depends on the driver, right? If a driver knows the destination, then he or she will take us there. If he or she doesn't know the destination, then that's a problem. We all decided, oh, we're going to go to Austin, for example, but the driver is now thinking, no, Austin is not good today. And even, let's say, if the driver got some information which everyone who's sitting in the bus, they didn't have that information, maybe there's some weather challenges or some other issues, then the driver should share that very openly and candidly. Well, these are the reasons that today, or maybe we'll stop for a couple of hours and then we'll go to Austin, but we will reach our destination. So that's where we all are smart, intelligent people. We always try to do the right thing, or always intend to do the right thing. But when we intend, it's all about the intention. And when our intentions are good and pure and we are truthful, then things happen. And it's a miracle, I call it, because this is about humanity. This is where we all connect with each other. And we can see that who is being genuine, sincere, and at the same time leveling with us. And that's what this election is also about. The Commissioner Precinct 4 election that I am so proud of, because it has become so popular, and it's becoming popular every day. Because our campaign is the campaign of issues and ideas and solutions and about the vision, and then ensuring that together we will make sure that the Commissioner Precinct 4 in Precinct 4, and we will make this an exemplary and model precinct and county in our nation. We will make it happen, because I believe in all of you. And just like corporate America and these great companies trusted me with millions of dollars of budget, I ask for your trust, that you will trust me, and together we will improve our quality of life. This is Zishan Isaac running for Commissioner Precinct 4. So I've been talking in English for quite some time, almost an hour, only a few minutes left. So let me switch in Urdu and Hindi. So I also talk with people who may not understand English so fluently or so well. And then obviously it's great that we have so many foreign languages that we speak in Fort Bend County and in Harris County and other counties and cities. Assalamu alaikum, namaste, sat sri akal, keman achin, yali madad, ya Allah madad. और आप सबको मैं वेलकम करता हूँ हर संडे 10 बजे मेरे अजीज़ दोस्त रेहान सिद्दीकी और जो हमारे मेरे पैट्रन्स हैं उनकी सपोर्ट और हेल्प के साथ ये प्रोग्राम आपके लिए हर संडे 10 से 11 FM 103.5 पे और सोशल मीडिया पर ये पेश किया जाता है। और आज का जो टॉपिक अकाउंटेबिलिटी यानी एहतसाब कह लीजिए उसको आप उर्दू में, हिंदी में, यानी अपना मुहासबा हम करें। अकाउंटेबिलिटी गवर्नर ऑफ टेक्सास जो है उन्होंने इशू कर दिया है स्टेटमेंट, बल्कि ये एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर कि जनाब जो DPS है, टेक्सास डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पब्लिक सेफ्टी, इनके स्टेट ट्रूपर्स जो हैं वो किसी को भी रोक सकते हैं अब सस्पेशन पे। और वो क्या सस्पेशन होगा कि जी इमिग्रेशन स्टेटस इनका सही नहीं है, ये नहीं लग रहा है अमेरिकन सिटीजन या ग्रीन कार्ड होल्डर, वो क्या क्राइटेरिया, ये गवर्नर से हमने पूछना है। अकाउंटेबिलिटी है, गलत फैसला है बिल्कुल, इसके हम मुखालिफ हैं, बिल्कुल मैं भी मुखालिफ हूँ। کیونکہ اس طرح لا انفورسمنٹ اس طرح وائلنٹ ہوگا, جو کرائم ریٹ جو ہے, جو وائلنٹ کرائم ہے وہ اس طرح ٹیکل کیا جائے گا اگر یہ وجہ ہے. اور بارڈر جو ہے اور جو امیگریشن ہے یہ تو جو فیڈرل گورنمنٹ ہے اس کی جورسڈکشن میں آتا ہے, دیٹس دا لا آف دا لینڈ. اس میں اسٹیٹ کا کوئی تعلق ہی نہیں ہے. وہ بارڈر ہو یا آپ کا کہہ لیجیے امیگریشن پالیسیز ہوں, اس کو مل کر ریپبلکنز اور ڈیموکریٹس انہوں نے ریزالو کرنا ہے. اس پہ سیاست کھیلی جا رہی ہے, اور جو فارن پالیسی ہوتی ہے امیگریشن ہے دیٹس ود دی فیڈرل گورنمنٹ پیریڈ. تو اس کے اوپر انہوں نے کہہ دیا جی ٹیکسس کے جو اسٹیٹ ٹروپرز ہیں جن کی ہم اتنی قدر کرتے ہیں, دے پٹ دیئر لائفس ان ڈینجر, اور اسٹیٹ ٹروپرز ہیں وہ کسی کو بھی روک سکتے ہیں بیسڈ آن سسپیشن. کوئی بھی ان کو جو ہے ان کو نظر آئے ایسی چیز یا کچھ بھی ان کا کہہ لیں سسپیشن ہو تو اس کے اوپر جو ہے وہ روک لیں گے. امیگریشن پوچھیں گے, کیا پوچھیں گے وہ کہ کیا آپ لوگ پاسپورٹ لے کے گھومتے رہیں سب جگہ, کیونکہ آپ کو یو ایس سے باہر تھوڑی گئے, اس وقت چاہیے ہوتا ہے پاسپورٹ. یا لوگ جو ہیں وہ پھر بتاتے پھریں کہ جی ہم امریکن سٹیزن ہیں, ہم امریکن سٹیزن نہیں ہیں. پھر یہ کام نہیں ہے اسٹیٹ ٹروپرس کا, نہ ہی اس کا قانون ہے کہ شک کی بنیاد پہ کیا ہوگا. وہ شک کس کو روکا جائے گا, کس بیسس پہ روکا جائے گا, کون جو ہے وہ آپ کو نظر آئے گا کہ یہ شک لگ رہا ہے مجھے کہ یہ امریکن نہیں. غلط فیصلہ ہے. اس کے اوپر بائیڈن ایڈمنسٹریشن نے اسٹیٹ آف ٹیکسس کو سو کیا, لا سوٹ فائل ہو گیا. دوسرا ایک فیصلہ جو گورنر آف ٹیکسس نے, ہمارے گورنر ہیں وہ بھی, کچھ لوگ کہیں گے بھائی آپ کے ہوں گے ذیشان بھائی, میں عزت کرتا ہوں ان کی بالکل, لیکن اب وہ الیکٹڈ آفیشل, ہمیں اکاؤنٹیبل کرنا ہے سب کو. انہوں نے کہا کہ جتنی لوکل گورنمنٹ بلڈنگز ہیں اسٹیٹ آف ٹیکسس میں وہ نہیں مینڈیٹ کر سکتی ماسک. اب یہاں پر ہمیں پتہ ہے ابھی دوبارہ سے ایشوز چل رہے ہیں جو ویکسینیشنز کے بریک تھرو کیسز بھی, کہ جنہوں نے ویکسینیشن لگوا لیا ان میں بھی 0.08% یہ رپورٹس آئیں گے, جس میں 30 اسٹیٹس نے صرف ڈیٹا دیا ہے. ابھی یہ رپورٹ ہوا ہے مختلف جو چینلز ہیں اس پہ, اور بغیر مینڈیٹ یہ کر کے. تو اب جو جن کے ماسک ہی نہیں ہے تو وہ الگ ایک مسئلہ, اور جن کے ماسک ہیں سب کو ہم یہی ریکمینڈ کر رہے ہیں پلیز ماسک جو ہے پہنیں. کامنٹس وغیرہ بھی آتے ہیں, تھینک یو حسن راجہ. اور ساتھ میں یہ کہ مینڈیٹ جو ہے وہ نہیں ہوگا, بلڈنگز کے اندر آپ بغیر ماسک کے جا سکتے ہیں. اب جنہوں نے ماسک جو ہے نہیں پہنے ہوئے, اور اگر وہ ویکسینیشنز بھی انہوں نے نہیں لگوائیں, کیونکہ بہت سے لوگ ویکسینیشنز نہیں لگوا رہے ہیں, تو اب اس سے کیا ہوگا کہ مزید یہ اور پھیلے گا. تو یہ وہ پالیسیز نہیں ہیں جس سے آپ پروٹیکٹ کر رہے ہیں ٹیکسنس کو اور ان کو سیو کر رہے ہیں. تو یہ اکاؤنٹیبلٹی ہے, اور میں ذیشان اسحاق آپ سے وعدہ کرتا ہوں کہ جب میں انشاءاللہ آپ لوگوں کے ووٹ سے الیکٹ ہوں گا ایز کمشنر پریسنکٹ 4, تو ہمیشہ سچائی کے ساتھ, اکاؤنٹیبلٹی کے ساتھ, اور سچ اسٹریٹ بات جو وہ کی جائے گی. اور جو کیمپین ایشوز ہیں ذیشاناسحاق.com پہ بھی آپ جا کے ان کو وزٹ کیجیے, اور پھر انشاءاللہ نیکسٹ سنڈے آپ سے 10 بجے اسی اسٹیشن پر ملاقات ہوگی. ریحان صدیقی اور جو ہمارے پیٹرنس ہیں ان کا بہت شکریہ, اور اس کے ساتھ اجازت دیجیے. خدا حافظ, اللہ حافظ, اینڈ ہیو اے نائس اینڈ سیف سنڈے. تھینک یو.